The role of the Jew in creation, folks. 3:28. What is the role of the Jew in the universe? A very honest, serious question. Velvel, what is the role of a Jew in this world? Please. Seriously, an honest answer. No, nothing right or wrong. What is your position on what is the purpose, the role of the Jew in the world?
The role of a Jew in the world is to do mitzvahs and bring light into this world and make this a better.
To do mitzvahs and bring light, make it a better place. Fantastic.
A better home for Hashem.
A better home for Hashem. Fantastic. How many people would tell you? I mean, I appreciate that answer. Thank you. How many people would tell you that the role of the Jew is to get out of everybody else's way? Right? I'm serious. Think about this. But for 1800 years, 1900 years, the role of the Jew is to stay out of the way of the haters, of the anti-Semites, and to just do his own thing in the shtetl, sequestered, insulated bubble, right? Live and let live. Don't bother them. They won't bother you. Think about that. And then for the past 75 years, we've had this amazing run of no anti-Semitism, relatively speaking. Relatively speaking. You know, anti-Semitism was concentrated to like small parts of Israel. That was it. And we actually thought that we had conquered
Northwest Florida
anti-Semitism. But now, in recent weeks and months, in this October war, a war that we didn't start, a war that we didn't want, a war that we don't want to continue until they, as long if they would only release our hostages and remove the threat. Yet we are deemed as the villains, right? A war in which we are fighting with surgical strikes, and they are sending rockets of mass casualties, right, from all fronts. We're the ones being accused of genocide, right? It's incredible. So what's happening here is that for the past 75 years or so, we were able to integrate to the rest of the world. And it was beautiful. The question is, what were we doing when we were integrating with the rest of the world? What kind of integration were we doing? Now, Jonathan Sachs, former chief rabbi of Israel of blessed memory, passed away during COVID. He was one of the great orators and thinkers and creative thinkers of our generation, of our times. I really see him as a role model. He says that Or Lagoyim is the light unto the nations. And that for 1800 years or so, we were unable to be a light unto the nations for pain of death. Because any time a Jew might influence a Gentile to convert, right, or an influence other than the church or the mosque, that was considered an act of treason. An act of treason. We weren't trying to, but if it, and in fact, in medieval times, when certain Gentiles wanted to convert, the rabbis would beg them not to, because it could have meant the massacre of the entire town. And they wanted to. Imagine you have a cleaning lady, a neighbor of a Jew that just is inspired and wants to see the light and taste the truth. They would say, please, just go somewhere else and convert, because it was too dangerous. So we were unable to be a light unto the nations because we weren't able to be unto the nations. We had the light, we weren't unto the nations. But then in the past 75 years, or maybe you can call it the past 200 years, maybe in America, have you want to date it, we were unto the nations. But the question is, did we have the light? We were unto the nations. We were allowed to mix and mingle. But what happened was, who was influencing who? Were we influencing them, or were we being assimilated? And what happens in 2024 is something unbelievable. Married, to non-Jews, or maybe their kids are not Jewish, or maybe they're not affiliated with any Jewish organization. They're feeling it. They're feeling it. I had an amazing story this week. Couldn't believe it on Shabbos afternoon. An amazing story. Shabbos afternoon, I'm last to leave for the shul. It's late in the afternoon. And I'm just about to leave. I'm checking the door, and a guy comes in the door, shouting at me. An elderly man shouting. Chill out, man. Relax. What's your name? Nuke them. We have to nuke them. If one of them is dead, we have to nuke them. I'm like, sir, calm down, man. I'm not sure who you think you're talking to over here, but I'm not the Ministry of Defense. I'm not the Mossad. Okay.
The Jew is one entity.
Anyways, he tells me his name. I'm like, first of all, I didn't recognize him because last time I saw him, I think it was 10 years ago. And I said, this is the strangest thing. I had a dream about you last night. I had a dream about this guy and his son. They came out to meet with me 10 years ago, and something happened, and they never came back. But I was like, wow, why am I telling this story? Send to the Jew. Oh, what's happening is the Jews are being inspired. The Jews are being awakened and aroused. This guy, I couldn't get into shul in 10 years. Yet, the video of the 5 female hostages, that brought him to shul. Okay, he came late in the afternoon. He missed the whole service. But he saw the rabbi. Better late than never, right? I said to my wife, I'm like, wow, that was the Pintele Yid. That was the essence of the Jewish heart. This is a guy that no force was able to get into shul, but whatever's going on in the world today, whatever you saw in the news, that moved him to come. So what's happening is that the Jewish people are being aroused and inspired. So we're still integrated with the Gentiles today. We're still integrated. Let's face it. We're all over the map.
I think it's a zero-sum game.
You think it's a zero-sum game?
Every Jew that's inspired, you get the Jew who's standing in the protest line.
There was a beautiful picture I want to show you. A beautiful picture a friend of mine sent me last night. I have to show it to you. This beautiful photo.
While you're looking, this Shabbos, while you're on Sima, if this guy shows up, would you just point him out to us so we all know who he's
Embarrassed.
What embarrass? What are you talking about embarrass? Why embarrass?
Supposed to embarrass people.
It's not embarrassed, it's to welcome them.
That's right.
We welcome you. And here's the guy.
Oh shoot! Where was this?
There's bombs. He's coming. I mean, that's.
Oh,
Yeah, it's, you get your blessings wherever you can get them.
That's
it was a beautiful photo. Basically, I'm going to describe it to you.
It's a person.
Should I describe to you this photo of a Jew in one of the college campuses? He's wearing a kafia.
Oh,
He's wearing a kafia, and he's rapping tefillin at the Chabad table.
really?
the Chabad table is where whatever the hell.
But like,
It was a beautiful photo. It was a beautiful photo that even the most confused Jews can't find. What?
The flip side is also true. You also have Jews who say, if we're going to be a light to a nation, okay, so they killed 1,200 of us. We killed 1,200 of theirs.
No.
Let's call it good.
Okay, guys, let me stop for a second.
Okay,
I want to disagree with you at zero-sum game point over there. I want to respectfully disagree with you, Rob, because I don't believe it's a zero-sum game. You're talking quantitatively. Andy, you're also referring to quantitatively. What do we know, Rob? What do we know? Okay, so maybe you're saying that we lost the Jew to whatever, to apathy or to the protest.
You do this all the time. You pick out one miracle here and you forget about the guy who can't get a break over here.
Rob, you have to understand, you're coming in with a very limited perception of reality, like I am. Like I am, as human beings, not just you.
Just
All
in
of
case you
us.
thought highly of you.
All of us.
I get it.
Rob, all of us are limited as human beings. We don't see the bigger picture. You have to understand, you can't say, well, I have God's point of view, and therefore I'm not okay with what's going on. It's a very arrogant point of view. You can't take that.
That's exactly the point, that there are others who think like that. You can't discount.
Exactly.
Jews.
You can't say,
Lots
and by
of
the way,
Jews who
in case,
don't think like
and
that.
Rob, in case you're wondering, at the very, very beginning of Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 2, is a very beautiful Mishnah here, which tells us as follows. I'll read it to you briefly. It says, don't make calculations. It's not for us to calculate. It's Rabbi Yehuda the Prince said, what is the right path that a man should choose for himself? That which is honorable for himself and brings honor from man. Be as careful in the performance of a seemingly minor mitzvah as of a major one, for you do not know the reward given for the mitzvahs. Consider the loss incurred in the performance of a mitzvah against the reward earned by its observance, and the gain derived from a sin against the loss that will follow. He's basically saying, like, relax, you know what I mean? We don't know, we have a limited perspective. And let me just keep on going here. My point is that the Jews are being aroused, the Jews are being awakened, and what's happening for the first time in Jewish history is that we are super integrated in the world all around us. Everywhere you look, there are Jews, there's Chabad houses, there's Jewish centers, there's organizations. But what's happening is that the Jewish soul is being aroused, where the Gentiles are saying to us, you are not like us. They are telling us that. You are different. Whether that's a curse or a blessing, I'm not sure. Okay? But what they're saying is, it seems obviously like a curse. But what's happening is that the Jews are identifying and saying, 1 second, they're asking themselves, then who am I? If my friends are no longer accepting me, then who am I? Maybe I need to embrace my identity as a Jew, because my superficial and false identity that I've embraced until now is apparently fake. And I believe that what's happening right now in 2024 is that we're rising to the point that we are able to be or lagoyim, not only a light, Sorry, not only to the nations, but we can also be a light to the nations, right? I was reading the Wall Street Journal, somebody has over there, that there's a U.S. general, saw an article I think last week in the paper, a U.S. general was saying that the war that Israel's fighting in Gaza now is so incredibly just. It's so the antithesis of genocide, with so few civilian casualties, which is almost an impossibility, that it's going. Is that the article you're giving me?
No.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. Which is, and he says, it's so just that it's going to be nearly impossible for Western militaries to fight urban warfare from this point on and hold that same humanitarian standard as Israel, providing 500,000 tons of food, of gasoline, of cooking oil, of water, of electricity to the very enemy that they're attacking, to be able to literally comb urban warfare with a comb, to be able to separate every inch of land from the good guys and the bad guys. As I mentioned on Shabbos, there's a drone that we donated that took out 3 terrorists, and the terrorist that was standing next to them was not killed. They had to send a second strike to get him out. That's how precise these drones are. And if you show me a headline over there, which says something about Netanyahu apologizing for Rafah, it's been discovered already by now that it wasn't Israel's bomb. First of all, it wasn't a bomb in the humanitarian zone. It was a bomb in the non-humanitarian zone. Second of all, the explosion was a secondary explosion from the Jeep that was fully loaded up with explosives, and that's the reason why this fire broke out. And I don't know why Netanyahu is so quick to apologize to the world to give fuel to the fire. Look, I don't envy Bibi Netanyahu in the slightest bit. He has the most difficult job in the world, so I really don't envy this man, and I wish him strength. And I think and I hope that when we are able to find within ourselves the strength to stand up to the anti-Semite within ourselves, when we don't cave in to the forces of Goyishkeit around us. When I mean Goyishkeit, I mean when we can focus on our light within ourselves and within our own world, I believe with all my heart that magnifies and amplifies on a global scale, where the political leaders of our nation are able to muster the courage to do the same. When I can stand up and recognize in Palm Beach Gardens that the role of the Jew is, as we're about to learn in Chassidus, the focal point of creation, that I'm not here just to be out of the way of the haters, but I'm here to uplift and inspire the darkness and illuminate the darkness. That's when Bibi and everybody else up there in the political leadership of Israel will have the courage to stand up to Biden as well. I believe that instead of us shouting at our television screens, we're going to get off of our couches and lay the tefillin and light the candles and learn Torah like your life depends on it. We learned that in yesterday's Torah portion, that this week's parsha tells us, you want peace in the land, then you got to study more Torah than you're comfortable with. How many times have people said to you, I'm not comfortable with that? Good. You're not comfortable with that? That's good. It means we've reached the red line. From this point on, everything that you do will unleash the blessing. That's what we learned yesterday. You're not comfortable? That's the words I was waiting to hear, right? When it comes to giving tzedakah, when it comes to learning Torah, especially learning Torah, learn more than you're comfortable with. That's exactly the whole point. Okay, welcome.